like a 115, 1, 2, 3. Some of the issues, I just don't want a large exhibit to be collected.
Okay.
So if you put numbering, like 115.1, 115.2 works for you, we can do it that way as long as it's separate.
I understand. So I did already, during our break, I numbered these. They would be exhibits 115 to 123, and there's a collected in it that I did do 116.1, 116.2, 116.3. So I agree with that. It gets confusing when I'm collecting exhibits.
If it gets too big, it makes it hard.
You can't even, yeah, that's a good point. But I did number these.
What was the last number?
123.
Yes, ma'am. Bring it through. Please be seated.
So, Investigator Crawford, remind us where we're at. I had just shown you photos after I'd asked you questions about the defendant's cell phone download. Do you recognize these photos?
I do.
Are these photos that were taken? Well, let me ask you this. Let's go individually. Do you recognize what's in this photo?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
It's a picture of the back of the cell phone device collected from 1943 Ashburn Court, which was identified as Jason Chen's cell phone device.
And was this a photo that was taken when it was in the possession of the Chattanooga Police Department before download?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Your Honor, I ask that that be State's Exhibit 115. These records, there are approximately 11 pages. What are those?
It's a excerpt from the call history log, specifically the timeline area of the forensic cell phone extraction from Jason Chen's cellular device.
Does this reflect the calls that he was making, receiving, or missing?
Correct. It's a call log. It will show the date and time that a reported call occurred. It'll show the direction of the call, whether it's incoming or outgoing. It'll show potentially what type of communication it was. It'll show the reported numbers between the calling number or the number that was called or that was calling in. And in the device, if the number was identified via contact, it will have a generated name associated with that as well.
You recognize that as records taken from Mr. Chen's cell phone download?
That is correct.
Your Honor, I ask that this be State's Exhibit 116, 116-1 through 116-11.
So moved.
And the rest of these photos, in vague terms, can you tell the jury what the rest of the photos represent?
This photograph is a photograph that was recovered off the cellular device in question we were talking about. It depicts that woman.
Well, it's not. The jury will see it. Just in vague terms, are those photographs from Jason's phone and coordinating data?
Correct. They are phones recovered from the device along with the extraction data as well.
Photos that came from the device?
That is correct.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd ask that these be admitted. It would be 17, 18, 117, 118, 119, 120, 21, 22, and 23.
So moved.
All right. So, behind you, this you testified 115. This is the cellular device that was retrieved from that red box in the bedroom at Jason Chen's parents' home.
Yes, that's correct.
This is what you performed the cell phone download on.
Cell phone download was performed on that. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you Exhibit 116-8. Is this a page of the call logs from Jason Chen's phone?
Yes, that is correct.
And would you agree it begins down here on this page on 11/19/2022
Yes, that's correct.
and goes up on this page to 11/24/2022 at 6:42 p.m.?
Yes, that's correct.
And would you be able to tell just based on looking at this if anything had been deleted or not?
No, not based on what it is now.
Do you recognize any phone numbers of significance on this call history?
Yes.
And which phone number is that?
At the two up from the bottom, there is the phone number 423-664-2024. That is going to be the victim's cellular phone number.
423-664-2024 is Jasmine Pace's phone number.
Yes, that's correct.
And can you see the last call that Jasmine and Jason had?
Yes, it would be on November 22nd, 2022 at 11:56 a.m.
That would be 11:56 a.m. Is that what you
Yes,
said?
that's correct.
And then what does this number over here represent?
That's going to be the call duration, so how long those two lines were connected and potential conversations happened.
1 hour and 10 minutes and 4 seconds.
Correct.
And then over here, what does received mean?
Received means that this cellular device received that communication, meaning that the number associated here on the right, the 1-423-664-2024, called this device, and there was a connection time for 1 hour and 10 minutes and 4 seconds.
States Exhibit 117. Describe for the jury, even though they've seen photos at this point, describe for the jury where Mr. Chen, if that's Mr. Chen, and where Mr. Chen is at in this photo.
Based on the photo, you can observe the side profile of Mr. Chen, which is the left-hand side. You can see the picture of the drapery that's against the wall that's affixed, which is consistent with the same drapery that was there during the night we executed the first search warrant. The only thing that's not consistent in this photograph is that the bed appears to be in a different location at this point up against the wall.
What is metadata?
Metadata is associated data with pictures or different things that it's actually the data makeup of that image or device that could show potentially what cellular device, for a photograph could show what cellular device potentially took that photograph, time, days, and sometimes if GPS location or location data is available or allowed to be available, it'll also give a timestamp and a estimated location of where that photograph was taken at.
Is there metadata that's attached to every photo that you take with your phone?
Yes.
Is it accessible on a forensic download?
Yes.
Was there metadata attached to this photo?
Yes.
States Exhibit 118. So most of the jurors probably have not seen this before. Can you just describe what we're looking at here? Would you like to?
We talked about the Cellebrite program, which is the forensic tool used to extract the data off the cellular device. They actually have a program to allow us to read that data as it's extracted. So you will see at the top that it states extraction report, Apple iPhone, and Cellebrite. This is how that, when you're viewing it on a computer, that you would actually see at the top of the screen. In it, it's going to show that specifically this photograph's metadata is portrayed with the thumbnail of the actual photograph itself. You will see here the name that the device is given that photograph. Essentially, it's going to show the location of where it identified that photograph being located on that device. On the right-hand side, the additional info, it's going to identify the size of the photograph in terms of how much data that it takes up on the cellular device. Then it's going to give these times here. Specifically, it will show created date, modified date, and assessed date. Those can be different depending on what's done with that photograph. If it's edited, it can show different things, or even if there's success, whether it was pulled up in a different program or if it was done anything else. And this down here, the source file, once again shows the location of where it's stored on the device.
When was this photo created?
This photo was created, where it's identified to be created on November 20th, 2022 at 9:18 p.m. Now this says UTC plus 0. So essentially, at this time period, UTC, Universal Time Zone, it's basically, it would be, I think at this time it would actually be 5 hours. It would be closer to 4 p.m. It would be 4:18 because it doesn't have the conversion for the time at that point.
So the time's not exactly right on this, but the date would be based on UTC.
Correct.
Okay. Is this a photo that you located on Jason Chen's cellular device?
Yes, that is correct.
This is Exhibit 119. Pretty obvious what we see here.
Correct. So, hand holding the start with
Was-
the identifiable bracelet.
Was metadata attached to this photo in Jason Chen's phone?
Yes, it was.
Again, without the details, because now the jury sort of knows what metadata looks like, sort of summarize for them what this information means, especially now that we sort of have two separate, on the right-hand side, we have additional file info with items below it, but then we have metadata below that. Can you explain that to the jury?
Yes, I was explaining the metadata that can be associated a lot of times with photographs. In this forensic report, it identified that essentially the camera that took the photograph is an Apple. Camera model is identified as an iPhone XR as being the camera model. The capture date, which essentially this photograph was taken, was July 23rd, 2021 at 4:51 and 11 seconds p.m. It's identified its pixel resolution at the time that the photograph was taken. Also the typical resolution on screen up to 72 units per inch. And it showed it had a horizontal or normal fixation picture.
Why would that information above that show that it was created, modified, and accessed on 11/28/2022?
This would show its actual physical creation date at the bottom, as identified via the forensic report. At the top, it's essentially showing that this photograph has been created, modified, and accessed at a different time. It's identifying that this is the original data capture of when this actual picture was taken, and essentially this photograph was potentially imported, sent, uploaded. It was placed in another program, and it actually identifies the source file here, where it says JSON Mobile Library SMS, which is a formatting of text messages, and it shows that it was placed in as an attachment, and then it has its metadata associated specifically with the photograph.
Were you able to locate on Jason Chen's phone photos in his photo file that were screenshots of text messages?
Yes, I was.
Can you tell the jury about those text messages?
Yes, I observed multiple screenshot photographs, text message conversations between Jason Chen and the phone number of that of the victims. It identified the phone number at the top of the photographs. It said 423-664-2024. There are multiple screenshots that go all the way back to, I believe, August of 2021 to, I think the latest screenshot goes to, with the time depicted in the actual photograph of where it has a timestamp when something was sent or received, is November 23rd of 2022.
Do you know of any reason why Mr. Chen had screenshot photos of his conversation with Jasmine Pace?
I can tell you that the actual text conversations were not recovered from the device. I did not recover these text conversations between Jasmine Pace's cellular device and Jason Chen's. The only communications that we observed were the screenshots. So the screenshots were the only evidence left over of the content of this text message.
What does it mean that you couldn't find the actual conversations themselves, only the screenshots?
I reviewed the contents of the forensic extraction to include the timeline, which essentially is a timeline of all activities on a device. So whether it's a log that's turning the phone on, your phone communicates with towers all the time, provides location data. Also, when you're using the internet, it provides location data, potentially website searches. It shows text message calls, all those things. I reviewed the timeline. I did not observe it. I went back through the messages portion of the forensic report to find these conversations within the device. I also reviewed other potential ways, such as call logs and things, and trying to find any ways that these were associated with that device. Like I said, that sometimes things can be recovered in the forensic extraction. Sometimes it has the ability to recover things that were deleted, and a lot of times it is not. So the only evidence at the time we had of the actual content were the text messages, because the actual text message were gone.
States Exhibit 121. Do you have an iPhone?
My wife does it.
Do you have experience with iPhones?
I do.
Have you worked, when it comes to downloads, have you worked extensively with iPhones?
Yes, they're about 50% of the phones we deal with.
If an iPhone sends a message to an iPhone, what color is the text?
An iMessage, the way it's communicated in a iPhone would come up as a blue colored device. And if it's transmitted in green, it means either that device, the iMessage communications were not occurring. That could be for different reasons, such as the device was on, or that device that they're communicating with is not an iPhone itself, and it's an Android-style platform, which then you're not able to communicate via iMessage. You're communicating through a different platform in terms of SMS and MMS text messages.
What does it mean that, did Jasmine Pace have an iPhone?
Yes, per family's reports and our cell phone reports.
Did Mr. Chen have an iPhone?
Yes, that's correct.
What does it mean that these texts are green?
It means that iMessages weren't allowed to be completed at that time, essentially. Whether it means the device changed or that device didn't have the capabilities of communicating. So it could be a few things.
Based on other messages in the phone, were you able to determine what date these photos, the photo and the text were sent?
Correct.
What date?
It identifies, do you want to have the pointer?
I'm sorry, I keep taking it from you.
The date itself, it's going to say Wednesday at 11:46 a.m. The way that it would identify it, essentially, if we were to look at the metadata, it would identify potential creation date or access date, which would further give us the year range as well. So even though it's only saying Wednesday at 11:46, based on the screenshot, the metadata would show us the year that it was created in, essentially. So it shows Wednesday, 11:46, and based on my knowledge of metadata, that would refer to 2022, and that Wednesday, 2022, 11:46 a.m. based on the metadata would be November 23rd, 2022.
Thank you, Investigator Crawford. One second, Judge. Can you read the text messages there?
Yes.
Okay, not the top, the two green ones.
Two green ones, starting down below. Says, good morning, slept like a baby, question mark. Made myself a matcha. Next one, starting at Wednesday at 3:03 p.m. Hey, are we still good for dinner tonight, question mark. And it says red, directly under it.
Based on the location of that photo and those text messages, who were those sent from?
Based on how they were captured from the device, it appears they were sent from Jason Chen's cellular device to that of Jasmine Pace's cellular device.
Because that's Jasmine's phone number at the top.
Correct. That's Jasmine's phone number associated at the top. It just doesn't have her contact name.
States Exhibit 122. Does this person look like Jasmine Pace?
It's Jasmine Pace.
Do you recognize that location?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
That is the bathroom located in apartment 210 at 110 Tremont Street.
And was there metadata associated with this photo?
Yes, there were.
Can you just again briefly explain to the court, to the jury, what that metadata indicates?
Essentially, in this metadata, it's identifying created modified dates of 11/16/2022 at 2:02 a.m. It once again shows where that photo is documented being taken from, and then you're going to see the pixel resolution and orientation as the picture was taken.
All right, while we're talking about cell phones, who requested Jasmine's cell phone records from Verizon?
The Chattanooga Police Department.
And how is that done?
Originally, with Jasmine Pace's cell phone records, we contacted Verizon. Verizon has certain requirements for exigent circumstances to provide those records without a search warrant in place. We applied for exigent, we filled out an exigent form, applied it, gave it to Verizon, and they granted us exigency based on their requirements. So Verizon then sent us Jasmine Pace's phone records based on exigency at the time.
Two documents, Investigator Crawford. Do you recognize those documents?
Yes, I do.
What are those?
The first one is a copy of the emergency situation disclosure, the exigent circumstance form I was disclosing. It's filled out. I filled out the form. I filled out the form to the best knowledge of information. And signed the form and faxed that form to them. The second documentation is from Verizon, certifying the records that we received from them in regards to Jasmine Pace's phone number are certified to the best of their, they're the custodian of records and they're certifying those records.
Your Honor, I'd ask that these be the state's next two exhibits. One is the 902 affidavit from Verizon.
Is the next one 124?
Yes, sir. I'll make the Verizon emergency situation disclosure 124 and the affidavit from Verizon certifying the records 125.
124.
Looking at this certification from Verizon, is this something that they typically send to verify that the records they've sent are in fact what they are claiming to be?
Typically, we also request them to certify them as well, typically before purchases.
Okay. And can you see that there is a Verizon case number on that sheet of paper?
That's correct.
All right. You see this jump drive?
Yes.
this jump drive into Alright, you see the jump drive showed up on the laptop?
Yes.
Alright, I just opened, will you verify that I just opened the jump drive that's in the side of the computer?
Yes, you do.
And do you recognize what is on that jump drive?
Yes, there's a folder for the associated Verizon case number along with the name certification. There's also an Excel sheet for cell site CDR, current 4G VoLTE data with the associated number with Jasmine Pace. There's also a certification of records for the associated case number for Verizon. And then the final Excel spreadsheet is for SMS content associated with phone number 423-664-2024 and the associated dates that we requested.
And this, there's a number here that says certification. Does that number match the number from Verizon in the affidavit from Mark Moran?
Yes, that's correct.
Your Honor, I'd ask that these records be admitted to the next exhibit.
The jump drive is up,
Yes, Your Honor.
exhibit 126.
Okay,